came here for a larger project, so we are doing it's our study trip. So that's one of the elements of our study trip, right? So we collectively wanted to join your event.
What do you think about Indonesia? Intellectual tradition.
So I am exploring that right now, and I think Indonesia is a really, really interesting place, and I truly mean it. I have a great admiration for a critical approach that Indonesian society seems to take, and yeah, it's very, very interesting what we've witnessed so far and the meetings that we had. So I definitely I'm embarrassed because before of course I knew about Indonesia, but I never had the time to really focus. First come, second focus on society, Indonesian society. Now I was able to recognize the plurality within Indonesian society and diversity of the discussion that is taking place here. And I hope it will continue, and Indonesia will contribute to global discussion on modernity, capitalism, and place of religion in our society. I couldn't agree more, and one of the reasons why I'm doing my PhD in Singapore at the National University of Singapore is because I wanted to be surrounded by some scholars who are less Eurocentric than the rest of the academia, and like Professor Vinita Singha or Professor Alatas that was here with us today are a perfect example of that. So I'm just trying to work closely with them, and and I let them detect.
What department did you take?
Comparative Asian Studies. So
comparative. What do you think about like Ibnu Khaldun? Do you know about Ibnu Khaldun in your country?
No, so I didn't know.
I
didn't know, and Professor Alatas was actually the one who introduced me to his thought. I must say that it was very interesting for me, and I think it's. I'm interested in psychology, so even from psychological point of view, for me it's an interesting theory, right? And psychologically true, because if you think about, he was talking about the rise and fall of the states, but even if you think about, for example, families that gain wealth, right? And usually the first generation, those who still remember poverty, right? They are more, in control of the wealth is not necessarily so controlling them. They are in control of wealth. But second generation that already was born into a wealthy family, right? They didn't have to struggle to earn money. They're usually their attitude to money changes, right? And we can keep on going. So Ibn Khaldun stand that this generational dimension is important, because each generation starts in a different point, right? It's related too. So I think the way I see application of Ibn Khaldun is even wider, but I don't know if Professor Alatas would agree with me. but for me it was really, really interesting. And also, this.
I think you need more doing research in here, because we open philosophy of soul.
Of soul?
Yeah.
I'm very interested in soul.
Yeah. And
So
we will go to news talking about, we mainstream theory we derive from Mullasadra thought. Mullasadra thought is very, very significant scientist.
But you asked me what do I think about the problem that you've mentioned, and I think it just requires to change this. It starts with the effort of people, right? Like social scientists, for example, in Indonesia, to be creative, right? To attempt creating theories that are more relevant.
So you support that, yeah? You support that idea, yeah?
Yes, absolutely. I absolutely, yes. And then, our responsibility, your friends in the West, right, is to propagate it. So there should be a dialogue, right? And I think Professor Alatas was also writing about it, how knowledge is organized, right? So I know there is a problem that even scholars from different than Western societies, if they try to publish a paper, they not necessarily succeed because of the, you know, like, yeah, a lot of
commercial,
formal and and also the institutes, the publishing houses are placed in the West, so sometimes they give preference to the Western scholars. But I have to say that there is also, like, if scholars from, for example, from Indonesia need to really want to succeed, you need to pay very much attention to methodology. So methodology has to be very strict. This is what I am learning too, right? So I'm not talking from the standpoint of expert, right?
Yes.
But for the research to be really relevant and truly meaningful, methodology is very important. And I've been living in Asia for a couple of years already, and I must admit that sometimes I encounter articles that from my point of view were not scientific enough, right? Because people were too lousy in terms of connecting arguments or the evidence that they produce.
Yes.
So,
Evidence,
but I mean, that applies to everyone, right? So it's just, so that would be my advice, but I look forward for social science.